Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm doing another debunking Dragon Ball discussion for this week. And my good friend Goodnight Moon shared with me this one, in which he found an article by Patricia Hernandez in which she is discussing this Dragon Ball Z theory and saying that Goku ruined the Dragon Ball series pretty much by his whole existence in the Dragon Ball world. And in this video today, I'm going to be reading her article, discussing key points, and sharing my overall thoughts. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. And I want you guys to share your thoughts in the comment section below once I'm done. So the first thing that Patricia's arguing is that by Goku pretty much coming to Earth, he pretty much screwed up the entire Dragon Ball world in certain elements because of the fact that he attracted so many villains. So let's look at some of her key points here. So she does acknowledge that it's likely that some horrible villains would have appeared on Earth while looking for Goku. That's true, but if Goku wasn't present, then perhaps a different character would have had room to shine a bit more. And then she goes into talking about Bulma. Now, as you can see here, it says in one corner we have the Red Ribbon Army. More specifically, we have Dr. Gero, or Gero if you want to go with the Japanese version, a scientist of unfathomable genius able to create bipedal nexuses of near infinite power. In the opposite corner, we have Capsule Corporation. More specifically, we have Dr. Brief and Bulma, individuals of absurd intellect that their first commercial product turns conversation of mass on its head. After discovering an alien spacecraft, they were able to improve on its design with a couple of decades, if not less. So, and they also added gravity control and all that stuff. So she's pretty much making an argument here that Dr. Briefs and Bulma would pretty much be like anti-geniuses to Dr. Gero, which I do think is a good point. It is interesting to say that Bulma is very, very, very intellectual in her own right. But there's some things that we also have to look at. So she's pretty much saying here that with both the genius of Gero versus the genius of Briefs and Bulma, they would pretty much go into war over who can dominate the Earth with their intelligence, with obviously Bulma and Dr. Briefs being on, I guess you could say, the good side of things. But there's something that we have to look for further here. Patricia then mentions that Bulma is a genius that is not really new news to other people because she can pretty much build a time machine, and by saying that Bulma can build a time machine, she could pretty much fix anything that would happen if Dr. Gero had somehow won the war. Now here's where we're having a problem. First of all, you have to consider that future Bulma, and even the present Bulma, if we're going to Dragon Ball Super, obviously, Patricia wrote this article before Dragon Ball Super was, obviously debuting. But you have to factor that Bulma is not able to create a time machine for an extremely long time in Trunks' future. And if you even look at it in Dragon Ball Super, which is even further confirming it even more, Bulma did not even know how to build a time machine after all this time that had passed anyways, because of the fact that she had to use the blueprints of what her future self did. She only repaired the time machine that Cell already came to the past with. So that's telling you that as smart as Bulma is, she only worked on that time machine in Trunks' future because she had absolutely nothing else to focus her time on doing with, whereas the present time Bulma would not have had that type of preparation. It's not like you could just build a time machine out of scratch. It would have taken Bulma many years to construct that concept. And also, we have to look at something else too. If Bulma was to create this time machine of any instance, that is by defaulting that Dr. Gero would have won first before Bulma would have to go back and fix things. So think about this, guys. If you're saying Bulma can create a time machine, you're pretty much in essence saying that she would fail and all of the events of the present would have gone in a negative situation first before she would even have the need to create a time machine, therefore defaulting that Bulma's genius would not have been able to stop Dr. Gero for other factors. So let's obviously go down here. She's also talking about if the Red Ribbon Army's creations didn't manage to kill Bulma after wiping out every other noteworthy fighter on the planet, with the exception of one who was laughably weaker, it's a fair bet to say that they wouldn't have much of a shot. With her alive, every possible scenario turns out to this. So here's where Patricia's kind of going into more of a discussion here, where she's kind of just, pretty much talking about how her future self would talk with her present self. But let's go back down here where she actually adds a lot more points about the actual Red Ribbon Army. So she's saying, can you imagine the sheer insanity that would result if Dr. Gero gave Bulma the Cyborg 18 fuck you treatment? After acquiring the Dragon Balls, barely an inconvenience, immortality, done, undo, and you can pretty much do all of Dr. Gero's meddling with the bombs, the systems, all of that, no problem. We now have a super genius stronger than a Super Saiyan who is able to bend gravity, time, and matter to her will. Whether through science or sheer force of power, who knows what Cyborg Bulma could use the third wish for. So she's pretty much going somewhat into more of a fan fiction element where Bulma can pretty much make herself a cyborg Bulma and pretty much combat Dr. Gero and such. And if that is possible, that Bulma could somehow make herself into a robot that can obviously fight against these super strong creatures, we gotta factor in some things about Goku. Goku, by default, his mere existence led to everybody being stronger. Goku being around caused Yamcha, caused not so much Krillin, because Krillin wanted to go find Master Roshi on his own will. But he pretty much caused Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu, and then although he wasn't really a student of Master Roshi, Piccolo to eventually become allies. So what I'm saying here is that what Patricia, I don't think she's mentioning, is she's talking about the other Z fighters that could have fought against these threats by Dr. Gero. You have to factor in that these guys would not have been anywhere near as strong as what they would have been, or would not have even have been allies. Remember, Yamcha was an ally partially in part due to both Goku and Bulma. Obviously, he had feelings for Bulma, so I'm not going to completely put that on Goku there. But if you look at Tien, if you look at Piccolo, if you look even into Dragon Ball Z where we have Vegeta, those guys are heroes pretty much because of Goku's pure existence. So there wouldn't even be those guys to be allies towards the Earth, and they wouldn't be as strong as they were if it was not for Goku. So as smart as Bulma was, her pure existence of having Goku in her life made all of those characters come into play. And you also gotta factor in Trunks too. Trunks wouldn't be born, and Trunks was born partially and due to the fact that Vegeta, because of Goku's influence, eventually got with Bulma and had a kid. And you also gotta factor in that if there was no Goku, there would be no Gohan either. So even if all of these threats wouldn't have come to Earth like Raditz or all of the other Saiyans, you have a point, Patricia, in saying those guys might not have come to Earth, but the mere existence that Goku caused the other Z fighters to become, or should I say, Earth's defenders, because Z fighters, some people don't like that term. The mere fact that Goku caused those guys to be good guys is a mere contradiction to the points that she was making there. And let's also look at some more points that she's adding here. At this point, nothing in the Dragon Ball Z universe holds a candle to Bulma anymore. She's a singularity. Any problem she encounters can be solved with a combination of self-augmentation and technological engineering. Not so fast. Okay, so you gotta think about this. Okay, first of all, Bulma and both Dr. Briefs were amazed with the technology that was used in Android 16. They were able to repair him, but if you guys actually remember, and the anime implied this a lot more, they were so amazed with the level of technology that Dr. Gero put into those androids that they were shocked to find what they found. So, putting that in perspective, that's hinting that Bulma didn't even have the idea of what to do to make an android that powerful. So are you saying Bulma could create like some type of cyborg that could compete with Dr. Gero's androids and it would pretty much be a technology war? If that was the case, then Bulma would lose because of how much of an advantage that Dr. Gero already being able to create all of these androids ever since Dragon Ball. So that's one thing that you also have to factor in. And also motivation as well. So let's also add up some more points here. So pretty much she's concluding this by saying, what the fuck, that's the anime I would have rather watched. Honestly, it sounds amazing, but as constant compound notes, instead Bulma meets Goku and becomes his lackey, she ends up having to use the time machine to send Trunks back in time in hopes that he'll save the day instead of being able to use the time machine for world domination. Bummer, Goku, you suck. It's your fault Bulma didn't reach her entire potential. Maybe that sounds ridiculous, but Constant Compile explains that because the show always needs to put Goku in the limelight, it ends up maiming all of his allies, as the plot always demands the world be saved by his receiving a power upgrade. Now, you do have a point here, Patricia, and I'm trying to be respectful. I'm not trying to create a disrespectful response here. But you are right in saying that Goku does undermine the other characters in the Dragon Ball universe with his pure existence as the protagonist of the Dragon Ball series. I think everybody can agree with that. However, you also have to note that if you think about it, these characters wouldn't have been where they were, as I already explained before, if Goku was not there in the first place. So you're saying that Bulma was pretty much put to the side by Goku, but in essence, because of Goku being around, Bulma was able to accomplish some of the things that she did. If you even look at the very beginning of Dragon Ball, the absolute beginning of Dragon Ball, Bulma got kidnapped by a pterodactyl and Goku killed it, or at least severely injured it. It was implied that he killed it with the way the pterodactyl fell down. So if you think about it, this wonderful Bulma character, and I do think Bulma is a wonderful character, and I'm sure Geekdom would say she's wonderful in many other ways. This great character was nearly killed by a mere pterodactyl at the very beginning of the series, and Bulma would have completely have been wiped out. If Goku was not there at the very beginning of Dragon Ball, Bulma would have been killed during the very first arc. Let's say she was just walking around looking for a Dragon Ball in the same location. Let's say Grandpa Gohan was there, or maybe he wasn't there. What if he was taking a trip? It doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to say is, because Bulma was going out looking for the Dragon Balls by herself, she was extremely vulnerable to all of the threats of the world, and Goku defended her. Goku defended her from the Pilaf gang. Goku defended her from Boss Rabbit. Goku defended her from the pterodactyl. Goku defended her from a variety of things, and even Oolong was somewhat of a threat early in Dragon Ball itself. And all of these things would not have happened had Goku not been there. So my ultimate response to you, Patricia, is I think, I appreciate you taking the time to write this article, but at the end of the day, my conclusion is that even though fanboys might not want to hear this, if there was no Goku in the Dragon Ball world, every character would be either weaker or would not have even have been found to become an ally of all of the Dragon Ball characters. And that's my ultimate conclusion. So guys, that's been my video for today. I hope you guys kind of like this whole article analysis I did here, and please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's be respectful. Let's not throw any insults at people. Just share your thoughts. Do you think, Patricia made some good points about Bulma, about this whole technological war? Or do you think, my consensus of, Goku pretty much being this character that allowed everybody to advance is more realistic to the Dragon Ball world, and even without him, whatever minor threats could have resulted on Earth, like the Red Ribbon Army, would have never have been stopped, even despite how strong Master Roshi eventually was. So I'd love to hear all of your thoughts in the comment section below, guys, and I'm signing out. So please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.